Hello and welcome to Chin and Hack with Joel. In this episode, we're going to look at how to add roles programmatically to a sign-in member using Umbraco version 9 and forward. So let's start with looking at an image to see the business logic in this example. So in the heart, we have Umbraco that is going to present the content. And this example is going to use a dummy service to call an CRM. And this CRM is containing users and roles to the different users. So the communication between Umbraco and the CRM in this example is going to do an authorization against the CRM. And is going to return the user and its role. And Umbraco is going to we're going to make so that the signed-in user is going to have the role that is needed to present different content. So let's start to show an Umbraco setup and look at it, and let us think, how would one go about to implement this business logic? So let's look at the browser, and here we have in the back office the members section, and we have an CRM user that is going to be used like a placeholder for accessing or doing a sign in with the Umbraco member sign in manager. And we have different roles here, or different groups that is going to be used to present different kind of content or pages depending on the sign in user. For example, let's look at this content tree, and we have different pages here that is going to be viewable depending on the signed-in user role. For example, retail customers is going to be viewable by dealership administrators and retail customers. So now is the question, how will one go about to implement this? How to add custom roles to a sign-in user? Let's look at the code, and we can try to find out one way to do it. So we have a simple off surface controller that is being called by a view component. We have an early exit guard if the authorization against the sign-in service, against the CRM service, it's not succeeded. And if we have a success, we are fetching this member that we saw earlier in the back office. The CRM user is behind this constant that has assigned the value CRM user. And we have prepared a list of custom roles, or in this example, it's only one role. It's the one role that is returned from the authorization against the CRM service. So the CRM service returned a user and the role that is connected or the user has. So we actually are going to create a role here. And somehow we are going to do this assignment to the CRM user that is used to sign in using the member sign-in manager. So how will one go about this? Well, one might do this way. Iterate through the custom roles. And let's look what the CRM user is. It is a member identity user. The member identity user has an nifty method that would seem quite reasonable to use in this case. Maybe you spotted it here. Add role. Well, that seems to be a perfect fit. So, well, hello. Let's just do this. Well, that seems to be simple. So let's save it and wait for the hot reload. And let's go to the browser. So just bear with me some seconds till I find my window. We have it. So let's go to the site and do an login. So I'm just having some random credentials here. Well, look at this. Up here in the navigation bar, we have a link, Parts Department Staff. So if we click that, well, this is content accessible for the staff crew. Hooray! It seems to be a perfect example of how to add roles to a sign-in user. Custom claims or roles. But let's look what has actually happened here in the backend, in the back office. So we can go to the members section and let's click on the CRM user and go to the member section. Look what we have here. Member group on this user has the role Parts Department Staff. So what has happened here? Actually, we have persisted this role permanently. Well, at least till someone deletes it, but we have added that role to this user. So this role exists on the user in the database. That means if an administrator, for example, sign in at this moment, and later on a regular user, a customer sign in, he will actually have the admin role. And that is something that we don't want to have. That was not the logic, the business logic behind this. So let's fix that. Well, we need to jump to the back office first. And we need to remove this role. Let's save. Just like that. Let's go back to the coding. And first we have to remove this part. Just like that. One way to go about to solve this is by creating a custom implementation of this member manager. So there is an implementation of this in Umbraco. The class is called member manager and it's an implementation of the interface iMember manager. We need to do our own implementation, or we can actually use member manager. We can inherit from it in this case. So let's go through this. We jump to the coding and we add a class here. Custom member manager, something like that. And it's going to inherit the member manager. And we need to add a constructor. Oops. Like that. And now we're actually going to override a method that is going to be used. So just some brief comments here. When Umbraco is going to fetch information about what kind of content or a user can access, it actually go through the member manager to see if the role that is needed to access a content, if it exists on the signed-in user. So that is why member manager is a crucial step in implementing this logic. Now let's head back to the code. So let's browse to member manager here. And we could search for something called get user async. Let's define next. And we can do go to definition. This is the method that we are going to override. So let's copy this. And let's add it to this class. And we do an override and It's going to be member identity user. And to start with, we need to get or we're going to use the base method from the member manager. So we go do something like this. Wait, base. Oh, there you have it, Visual Studio Magic. And the next step here is to create a new member identity user, a new instance. And we're going to copy properties from this base user. And then we're going to see how we can do to add the claims programmatically, or in this case, claim of a specific claim type, the role type. So let's see, custom user, new member identity user. That's the one we're gonna have, and we're going to copy some properties from the base user. So something like that, and oops, and we're going to have the username, that, and we can copy the email as well. Do it, and let's see, it's going to be another kind of property that is very essential here. It's this one is approved. That one should be true. And now we can return this custom member identity user that essentially has properties copied from the get user async in the base class. So we can actually try to see what's happening here before we dig into the solution. Well, before we do that, we have to add this in to our DI container. So we added a scope, and it's the iMember Manager implementation interface. And now we should start up our debugging session here. And let me see. Let's put a breakpoint. Well, I did put that breakpoint over there, so that's done. Well, then let's jump to the browser. And let's see, it's already hit the breakpoint because we signed in. So back to the browser. Here we see we have the custom user, and it has some properties. Perhaps you can see it. We have like the claims. We have something called roles, and let's be done with that. So just jump to the browser, and here we have like the view we had before, but we do not have some content here. We do not have a link to content that is should be accessible for this signed in user. So let's fix that. We'll just sign out, and we go back to the coding session. And now we shall go back to our off-surface controller. So let's try out one thing here. So to the CRM user, we could do the same iteration that we did before. Custom roles. But this time, let's try to add it like this. Let's see, we should have some properties here, right? No, do it like this. Claim value, claim type, claim type, claim value. Yeah, and the user ID should be the one from the CRM user. Yeah, something like that. That seems okay. That seems okay. Well, let's try that out. So our hot reload seems to show us some love. So let's go back to custom member manager. Let's put a breakpoint over here. And let's head back to the browser. and we do an sign in. Back to the Visual Studio, custom user. Let's check what has happened here. We have claims, but it's empty. Well, why is that? Well, let's look at the base user. The base user does not have anything here. Well, that's strange. Didn't we just add a claim to this user? Well, let's look at this principle here. Here we have claims. There we have it. We have this department stuff over here. So we need to do one step more. So let's continue. We could jump back to the browser and, well, actually, we could get back to the code again. Now let's iterate through the claims in this. And as perhaps we don't want to add like duplicates. And for this case of this simple demo, we could do a filtration of just getting the claim type role. So let's do that. Claim types role. And custom user and add, well, claim. No, let's try out this one. Add role, claim, and value. And I save. Oh, auto reload is working. Go back to the browser and refresh it. Oh, look what we have here. We have parts, department, stuff. And let's click it. Oh, there we have it. It's working as it's supposed to do. But let us once more check in the back office. Let's reload. Commented through, no persisted user. So this solution did the trick. Let's just verify this by checking or doing an authorization of another user. So in this demo, I have just a simple switch statement, an ugly statement for returning the roles. So we have a password called admin here. So let's just try that one out here. So we go back to the browser, we sign out, and password, admin, sign in. There we have it. As an admin, we have access to all the content that an admin should access. So to recap, how to add custom claims to a sign-in member in Umbraco 9 and forward. First, you have to implement a member manager. And in that member manager, you have to override a method. The method getUserAsync. You have to have a get the base user, and you have to create a new member identity user, copy some properties, and then from the principal, you have to add the claim, the role in this case. So every time Umbraco is going to fetch content and you are signed in, it's going to step into this getUserAsync and check what kind of roles exist on the sign-in user. So this is one way to solve it. So perhaps you can have good use of this video. And if you find another way or you have some kind of question, please feel free to comment them. and I will try to reply to your questions, and probably you have some advice on how to make a better solution than I did in this version. But I hope you like my content and that you find it useful. That's what I was looking for, that you can have some useful content. So that's everything from me for this moment. So I wish you all the best.